Positive rotation. Ignition. You guys have a nice flight. We'll see you back here.
Welcome to Roll Call, a 126th Air Refueling Wing podcast of the Illinois Air National Guard at Scott Air Force Base. I'm your host, Master Sgt. Brian Ellison. The Roll Call podcast focused on people, mission, and community. Thanks for listening. Coming up, a virtual town hall with the 126th Air Refueling Wing Commander, Colonel Tom Jackson, and Wing Command Chief, Chief Master Sergeant Christina Rizzo. There are I didn't know this, we have 2 financial counselors available to us. I should say that I only learned this recently. The personal financial counselors are called Drew Weckbach. You can reach him at 314-307-3300. His email is pfc.mo.nosc at Zeiders.com. That's Zeiders.com. He's available to meet off base during the week and during drill. There's also Jonathan Bracewell. You can reach him at 618-304-7311. You can reach Jonathan at pfc.scott.usaf at Zeiders.com. That's Zeiders.com. He's located on base Monday through Friday. You can also meet with him during drill by request. You can call them, you can text them, email them anytime to talk to a personal financial advisor. If you are a counselor, if you have questions, they can help with budgeting, discuss options for financial assistance, understanding or updating your TSP, and even comparing the benefits of a potential new job. The Family Child Care Program allows Air National Guard parents to use licensed and affiliated homes during drill weekends for free. Care is funded through an Air Force contract and must be approved through the 375th Family Child Care Office. Families needing care must complete an expanded child care form. If you have questions, please call 618-256-8156. I'll make a note of that to put some of these email addresses and these phone numbers in the description of the podcast. Well, it's finally here. I don't know if you heard the last podcast. My son was on it, and he said it's going to snow at the end of on New Year's Day, and he was pretty close to being right about that. And we may have some snow coming up here on the weekend. I'm recording this on January 12th. If we do have snow or whatnot, you want to get on base this weekend, you can call the Scott Air Force Base Information Hotline, 618-256-7232, to check on road conditions and things like that. You can also check the Scott Air Force Base webpage or the 126th Air Refueling Wing Facebook page. Coming up here on Roll Call, we'll hear how the wing is trying to bring the KC-46 here to the 126th. It would be amazing if we can get that new refueler. I feel like we have a pretty good chance, but I guess I think the wing's awesome. But well, hopefully the rest of the Air Force thinks the same. Well, they do, because we won our 10th Outstanding Unit Award. Chief Rizzo discusses ways senior NCOs can support their junior troops. That's coming up right here on Roll Call.
My name is Braden Wright. I'm looking to go towards civil engineering, further my education benefits, and better the civilian market.
I'm Trinity Romero. I'm in Security Forces, and I aspire to be a Security Forces officer.
Hi, we are the 126 recruiting team. I'm Master Sergeant Heather Wilde, recruiting flight chief.
I'm Technical Sergeant Richard Olson, production recruiter. To learn more about career training with the 126, give us a call at 618-222-5701.
But wait, there's more. Give us a call in the next 5 minutes and you could qualify for 4 years of free college tuition.
Welcome to the 126th Air Refueling Wing Town Hall. I'm your host, Master Sergeant Brian Ellison with the 126th Public Affairs Office. We're joined today by the Wing Commander, Colonel Tom Jackson, and the Wing Command Chief, Chief Master Sergeant Christina Rizzo. And before we start, Colonel Jackson, you wanted to say a few words?
Yeah, so welcome to 2022, everyone. Just wanted to give us, we haven't done this in a while, so I just want to give you a quick overview and review of what we did in 2021, a short outlook into 2022, and then we're going to have a few questions and answer session here with my friend Master Sergeant Ellison and the Chief. So quick review, if you look back a year ago today, we had no vaccine. Case numbers were pretty high, just like we are today, and we were looking forward to getting a vaccine out and looking forward to what 2021 was going to bring us here at the 126th. And fast forward through a large force readiness exercise, a major inspection of the large force readiness inspection, then followed shortly thereafter by a unit effectiveness inspection, which you folks just knocked it out of the park. It was unbelievably impressive. Followed shortly by getting right back into our nuclear generation exercises and planning. Lay on top of that, in 2021, we had a large number of folks deployed for COVID support last year for about 9 months, doing the COVID testing and vaccination sites all the way around the state. On top of that, we got our 10th Air Force Outstanding Unit Award, our 3rd in a row Distinguished Flying Unit from the Air National Guard, which puts us as top 5 in the Air National Guard of all 90 wings. And oh, by the way, we're the only air refueling wing that's done that. On top of that, we've gotten kudos on multiple other areas, including individual, team, and unit level awards throughout the wing. So 2021 was just absolutely exceptional. And I want to thank everyone for all the work you did, because it's not just that one time you did it. It took a lot of time, years and years of effort to get there. And I tell you, it was an exemplary year, that's for sure. So here we are, 2022. It seems like a repeat of last January. We're starting over again with a high case count, but now we're 95% vaccinated in the wing, and a few more catching up there. Across the county and the region, the numbers are getting pretty high with the Omicron and all that kind of stuff, but by and large, everyone's getting through it. We have some cases here, of course, but nothing major. It's cold, sniffles, that kind of thing, so kind of normal stuff you're getting from Omicron. And still looking forward to what 22 is going to bring us. We have a couple deployments planned with Security Forces, Operations Group, and Maintenance Group. They'll be heading out here coming up just next month, actually, for Security Forces. And then Ops and Maintenance heads out this summer. And still trying to get done everything we normally do. And we have a nuclear inspection here in May. And then we got some big events planned here in August, potentially for a pretty big anniversary, both the wing and the 108th Air Refueling Squadron. So that's about what we're looking at. So I just want to give you hats up, and I'll hand the floor back to Sergeant Ellison here, and we'll see what we got for questions.
All right, thank you, sir. Chief, you're the newest member of the command staff. We'll start with you. How do you see, as a senior enlisted advisor, how do you see your role in the wing?
So I believe that the command chief is there to support the commander's ideas, decisions, and to promote, basically to promote the development of our enlisted force. And doing that by, going back to the basics on skills training, making sure people have the resources that they need to do their training for readiness, the professional development. I actually, when I get emails from the Guard Command Chief, then I forward those emails, and within those emails are lots of development opportunities. So coming up, we have a enlisted development seminar that will be on Saturday of UTA. And then also his first podcast, just like your podcast, he's going to have his first podcast in the middle of January. So try to promote that professional development and different courses and help people really to inspire and provide opportunities for all our airmen.
Okay. Sir, we'll start. I know you touched on 2021. Last year on the Roll Call podcast, I think you said that was your first year of command was like running in water or something, running underwater or backwards maybe, you even said that. Your second year of command, how was that different from the first?
I would say I'm used to the water now, but it hasn't gotten any more shallow. Let's put it that way. I will say that the first year was tough because it was so new. There were so many new things. You walk into a new job and you have all that, the new things. The wing command is different. I'd never done that. So it was having to learn that job on top of a completely new thing, meaning a pandemic, was exceedingly difficult. And obviously with the rapidly changing guidance and and all the challenges associated with that, and trying to deploy and trying to do all the things that we would normally do, that made it exceedingly difficult. Last year, the second year was a little bit better and things had kind of stabilized. As far as operations go, we were able to, last summer, turn the corner, so to speak, and work a little bit better toward back to the basics, like the chief said, and let's get back to what our job is here in the wing. You know, our job here in the wing was, we're an operational flying wing. We're not a COVID response wing. And that's the thing is, so trying to get back to the basics to get everybody back on target with getting the job done. Then of course the mandates came, added another layer of challenge on top of that, and now the Omicron variant. So it's a constant moving target that has been not only a challenge for myself, trying to kind of take all the guidance and the available information out there and make sure that the team and all the membership in the wing is fully aware of what's going on, but then managing all the issues that are associated with that. So it's been difficult, and I tell you, the additional challenges that are out there have not made it easy. And I want to give thanks to not only to the membership that are sticking with us and staying with us and being in service, those that are new to the wing, that have decided, even through COVID in the last 2 years, have decided to raise their hand and swear into the 126th and join service to the United States. That it's just impressive. But to those that lead, whether you're a first sergeant, an office chief, or a commander, the leadership in crisis is truly the test of leadership. And when things are really difficult and we still are that successful, that says a lot about not only just our individual team members, but those that lead them. And so thanks to all them. So it's been challenging, but I will tell you that I'm getting to be a better swimmer, and I've got some really good support staff around me and help me and lift us up. So that's been good.
You touched, like I said, you touched on 2022. How do you see this year changing now that we're kind of shifting out of a pandemic in a sense? How do you see that shifting as far as maybe the mission goes?
So I think I'm starting to sense a little bit of a shift, not just in the general public and with some of the things I'm hearing and reading is that we're moving away from the pandemic into more of an endemic time. In other words, it's here to stay. And if Omicron doesn't tell you anything, it's getting to be more like the flu than anything. So that being said, that I look at that as an outlook of stability. And that now maybe we can move toward some more consistent guidance, some more consistent application of rule sets and operations, because we need to learn how to operate within that. We need to learn to operate as much with the COVID issues as we do with the flu, as we do with China, as we do with flying hour budget being cut by 25%. An operational budget being cut by another 10 or 15%. Those things are all constraints that we have to operate in. So when I look forward to 2022, I look that we're going to have 100% of the force vaccinated at some point, and that is providing some level of protection from at least death, right? But we know people are still getting sick, but we can operate through that. We've proven we can operate through that, and we're going to have to continue to do that. And just do it safely, just do it as best we can. And then as we move forward, get back on mission, get this nuclear operational inspection out of the way, and then we deploy our ops and maintenance teams and deploy our security forces teams and get back into the normal routine of what we do as a wing. So I'm hoping that things are a little bit more toward like what we were in 2019. We'll never be back to where we were. This is a new way of doing business. I think it's here to stay for a while, and but I think we're a little bit more stable now than we were before.
Chief, what are some things that the senior enlisted can do to help junior airmen progress in their career?
So mentorship is vital and important. Mentoring our airmen to the best of their ability, to provide them the resources to develop, are things that we need to be doing on a daily basis across all ranks. So we currently have 6 or 7 A1Cs in the wing that have bachelor degrees. Wow. Which is amazing. You know, we get the training roster from our training office every month, and each month I'm amazed to see the amount of education that our airmen are even coming in with. But really to work with the airmen individually, to mentor them, if they're not the mentor, then to find another mentor for them, and encourage growth in the mentorship program that we have. And we have lots of resources for airmen from the education office. We have Chief Hinkle, who is our HRA, provides a lot of great training in conjunction with Miss Linda Shue, who's the Director of Psychological Health. They do various trainings, resiliency training and the emotional intelligence training. So all things like that, the more that we're involved with our airmen, the more that we can offer them and work with them and help them develop it. It also develops us as leaders. And I think that's what we need to be doing, is focusing on our airmen and making sure that they have all the resources that they need to develop themselves.
Yeah, you mentioned it. We can learn as senior leaders from our airmen. It's not a one-way street.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's a two-way street, definitely. Colonel Jackson, at this time last year, vaccines were just coming out, and there was no mandate at the time. Now there's a mandate, and almost the whole wing is vaccinated, like you said, 95%. What is the status with those mandates? Anything changing? Are we just continuing on with the mandates?
Yeah, the mandate's still there.
Okay.
It is a Secretary of Defense mandate, so it's not a rule that's implemented at the wing level or anywhere else. This is Secretary of Defense has mandated that all military members will do this. Each service gets to choose how they do it, which is why the Army National Guard has a different timeline than the Air Force and vice versa. But they're here to stay. Ultimately, I think in the future what's going to happen is just like the flu vaccine is part of our yearly requirement, this will most likely become part of a yearly requirement, just from a protection of the force kind of thing. Whether that's a booster once a year or how that works, I don't know, but I believe that's how it's going to go. And as far as the boosters go, the latest words from the Secretary of Defense is still just highly recommending them, and is not, quote, we do not foresee mandating the booster. However, that could change. So once again, that'll be a SecDef decision to make whether or not they mandate the boosters. But once again, if that becomes part of our normal shot cycle, when I did anthrax, you had to take 6 shots, and they were mandated at certain timelines, and you had to do them. And it was and it was the same thing. There were people that said, I'm not taking the anthrax shot, and there were people that left service because of it. So whether that happens with the booster, I don't know. But that's how I see things going.
Okay. Going back to last year, speaking about that, Chief, the first time I met you was at Belclair Fairgrounds. You had an interesting early part of last year. Could you tell us a little bit about what your position was? You were the legislative liaison? Or?
The liaison between the county health department
that's right, yeah.
and the joint staff at the Belclair Fairgrounds.
How long were you there?
6 months.
Wow. And what was your what was your daily routine, or what have you? What you did? Did you oversee the troops that were there, or were you mostly working with the government?
Mostly working with the government. My position was strictly between the county health department and the joint staff. So if there were issues where the county needed something from the state, then I was that go-between person to make sure that the county had what they needed, and however we could support the county in their operations.
Colonel Jackson, I'll ask you this question, and maybe I'll ask you too, Chief. What has the wing done this last year over 2021 that you are proudest of? Is there not one thing you
Oh, well, yeah, you kind of said early on with, you just look at the number of awards and actually the inspection performance for me, and I've done many of them in my career, and I've been at them from the airman level, I've been from the inspector level, I've been there from the evaluator level, and I've seen it as wing IG, and in my entire career to see what this wing did on two significant inspections in 1 year was truly impressive, because it did not indicate what they did that day or those 2 or 3 days that the team was here. It was an indication of what this wing has been performing at that level for so long that it was just another thing we do. It's just the normal operations, the way we do things. And it says a lot, and I heard that from the inspection team, from the UEI, that our wing operates differently than other wings in such a way that when they come in, they see that it's not performance for the inspection team, it's their normal performance. And when you see someone normally performing at a certain level, the inspection is just something that an additional item they get done that day, and they move on. They continue to operate at that high level. So to me, that shows that. But what was most impressive to me was not just that performance. Yes, it was years in the making. Yes, it was we've reached that standard level of performance, but we did that through COVID. 18 months into COVID, and we had 2 major inspections that were completed that were well above the bar. And to me, that was the most impressive thing.
Chief, what about you? You jumped in the middle of this.
Absolutely. So I am just extremely proud of our airmen and the things that they have accomplished, especially in this constrained environment. When I look at the 1206s from the Outstanding Airman of the Year, just the amount of volunteerism that was still done during this constrained environment, the work, we have such talented airmen in our wing. And last week, I believe you spoke with Chief Blankenship, who said our maintenance, we have the #1 maintenance team, tanker maintenance in the country. And it's across the wing. It's not just our maintenance guys. It's everywhere. I see that our airmen are really doing everything they can to be the best that they can be, and going out of their way and helping each other with their resiliency and helping develop each other and be there for each other. So I'm really proud of our airmen, O's and E's across the board.
What do you think, sir, about the challenge? And what's been the most challenging thing? I think we can all guess on what the most challenging thing was last year, but
It's the mandate.
it's the mandate.
Yeah.
Okay, I was thinking maybe the beginning of last year, just with inauguration and people
that was
being
tough,
gone.
right? In January of last year, like you said, like with the presidential support, and obviously we're coming up in the anniversary, January 6th. That was, you laid that on top of the COVID, because we had just started, we got up to about 120 or so that were deployed, and we started in early January, and by the end of January, we were pretty close. Actually, by mid-February, we were pretty close to 100 plus that were deployed across the state for that, and on top of that was the presidential support. So yeah, that was, but that was just deployments. That was,
right.
Hey, we have a tasking. We had folks who were more than willing volunteers. It was amazing how many people stepped up, and sometimes it was their second time stepping up. We had people who did a second 6 or 9 month tour in 2 years, working for the state. And so to me, that wasn't difficult. To me, the mandates were difficult, because it wasn't so much, hey, this is a direct order. It was the way the way it was enforced, the way the guidance came down, and everything was very difficult to manage from a standpoint of, well, how do we get this to the team and the membership and get the compliance to where it needs to be without getting people into a position where they wanted to leave service versus get the vaccine. So to me, that was the biggest challenge, was to work with folks to convince them that my desire to have them in service did not outweigh their desires, but I really wanted them to stay in, because I really value their service. But then at the same time, understanding their own decisions and their own desires, and then supporting them. supporting them in them, that if they didn't agree with the mandate or they didn't agree with the vaccine or for whatever reason they didn't want it, supporting them and giving them the paths that they needed. But the time spent on the vaccine mandate has been, in my opinion, very excessive, and has taken away a lot of the focus from where I needed it to be, which was the mission and the people. But the good part is I was able to connect with a lot of people in the wing that I probably would not have normally connected at that level with. A much more personal level, a much more interpersonal communication, and getting together with folks and really finding out what their deeply held beliefs were and why, and getting to understand the real reasons on what their challenges were. So for me, that's been more difficult than anything. I never want to have someone have to make a decision between a career and make life and career decisions based upon that, especially when they're looking at potential administrative actions or a separation or maybe a complete career change when they were getting closer to retirement. So those are the kind of things that were really tough, and trying to work with a lot of people through that.
One of the more difficult things too is getting days for the traditionals to come out and actually to do their jobs. When we're only allowed 1 or 2 days per month, or with the continuing resolution right now, makes it very difficult even for our HRA to come out here, during the week to get some extra time. But across the board for the DSG's funding right now, it just does not provide enough time for them to get their back to basics or any kind of professional development, or even just to come in and reacquaint themselves, every month. It's just, we don't have the funding for it. So right now, that's probably one of the more difficult issues that we have.
Do you see that changing soon? Because I know we're under the continuing resolution. How does that? Maybe you can answer it, or maybe either of you, because I know the national defense, wasn't that the national defense was NDAA was passed, but that doesn't affect the National Guard, or how does that work? Anybody?
You got any
know?
inputs? So the NDAA is what authorizes the authorization of expenditure of money for the national defense, so basically the military, for this fiscal year. So the NDAA for this fiscal year allows us to continue to, but you need the budget to be signed that allows us to get out of a CR, a continuing resolution. So a CR says you will continue to operate on the previous year's budget plan, except you're only allowed to expend up to when that CR terminates. So right now we're into a CR of early February, which means we're only allowed to, if you split up the year from October 1st through February 3rd, that's the amount of money we're allowed to spend. So if it's 50% of the year, you're only allowed to spend 50% of that money for the year. So it's like, instead of turning the faucet on full blast and saying, here's your available source for the year, they've turned it into a small trickle, and when they want to turn it off, they just shut it off, and then you have to operate on whatever you have. So do I see it changing? No. I foresee a very, very flat budget over the next several fiscal years, which means no increase in budget for the DoD, and a potential, depending upon how the National Guard Bureau handles it, a potential reduction, a continued reduction of flying hours and or budget for operations, operational budget, not just flying operations, but overall operations, in order to maintain Air National Guard presence or existing levels of personnel. So that's just my kind of the way I see things, but I've been wrong before, so we'll see how it goes. I'm hopeful that things will improve as from a budget standpoint, but it's the tightest I've ever seen it. Okay. Yeah.
Especially for basic skills training, when traditionals can only come out on a drill weekend and they're not afforded that time to come out during the week. It makes it very difficult. And then you throw the professional development on top of it, where they don't have the days to come in. So we need to really be creative on how we can get them professionally developed, where the Guard Command Chief has this podcast and he has the Zoom on drill weekends, but then on drill weekends that does cut into the airmen's time to work on their back to basic skills training. So it's definitely a balancing effort. Would like to see more days for our DSGs.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and with the constrained budget too, me and the command staff are looking at right now, what are the things we can do here locally to ensure the airmen get the time they need to both train and progress from a professional standpoint, and where can we take risks and say, you know what, it's okay not to do this training right now because it's not beneficial for now. For example, do I need to do XYZ training every single year, or can I do it every other year? I think there's several that we have that we could probably do every other year, maybe every third year. That's good enough. To do certain things every single year when it's the exact same training every year has become so redundant that, in my professional opinion, there are several things we can take some risks at. From that perspective, certainly with certain experience levels, maybe not the youngest airman, but certainly there are a large portion of our career for our team that may not need a specific training every single year. Maybe every third year is perfectly fine. And then the youngest folks maybe get a little bit more often, or those kind of things. And so we're looking at that actively to say, well, if the DoD or the SecAF or the Air National Guard Bureau is not willing to make adjustments on mandated training, which takes up time, well then I'm going to say, well then I'm not going to do some of this stuff. I'm going to request waivers, or maybe slip it if I can, where I'm taking care of the airmen's time. That gives them more time. By taking away some of this mandated training and doing it in a different timeline or a different format to make it more effective, then we'll do that.
Oh, we're talking about budgeting and all that, sir. What is the status of the KC-46 coming to the wing? I know you have a group working on that right now.
Yes, sir. So the current MOB main operating base announcements were just made. One was a 24 aircraft unit, MacDill Air Force Base was selected to be the next active duty wing to transition, and it won't be till 24, 25. So they're going to get 24. Another squadron, the final squadron at McConnell, is now standing up. So that's the active duty there. We're still waiting on a formal announcement on the reserve unit with 12 aircraft for the next KC-46 for Air Force Reserve Command. So as soon as that gets announced. So where's the Air National Guard is the next two main operating bases will be Air National Guard wings, 8 PAA with active associations. So the way that's defined right now is that doesn't necessarily mean that only those with an active association currently will be reviewed. Every Air National Guard wing, all 16 of us, are going to get looked at for a potential KC-46 replacement. Of that, they're going to pick 6 or 7 that they actually go do site visits at sometime this year, probably over the summer, where one of those six they're going to look at and to validate the information that they have. In other words, on critical infrastructure, ramp space, those kind of things. And out of those 6, 2 of those wings will be selected for aircraft arrival in FY 26 to 28. So that's the current plan. And as far as the 126, we are currently working on the information development and answering the questions that are required to provide to the National Guard Bureau, because National Guard Bureau is going to be the one making the selection on this through the SecAF and with inputs by the Air Mobility Command and those kind of things. So we're actually putting together, if you want to call it, our proposal package. Basically, what does the 126 have? What are our capabilities? And how can we support the KC-46 if it gets assigned here? So we're putting that package together. We are, like you said, we have a team together already. It's called a Program Integration Office, and we've already initiated that. And it was just to kind of get all that information, take a look at the previous wings that were selected and wings that are operational. We did a visit to Pease Air National Guard Base up in New Hampshire. Had an exceptional tour, got a chance to really get our hands on the airplane and get in the airplane and see all the structures and the buildings and then hear all of the lessons learned from that wing was truly eye-opening to know exactly what we needed to do to be better prepared, not only for the selection process, but that if we do get selected, that we will be further ahead than other units that once they get announced that where they are. So timeline, I foresee sometime this summer getting a site visit, and then about this time next year potentially getting notification of who those 2 units are going to be. So.
Okay.
And I think the 126 is very well positioned. So we'll have to see how it goes.
Chief, what are some good resources to help airmen further their careers? I know we talked a little bit about maybe coming in, trying to get some days to come in, if that's available, but there's other resources out there.
There are other resources. We have lots of resources. The first resource is obviously going to your first sergeant, to your supervisor, and utilizing them. They have a wealth of knowledge themselves. We have our HRA and Linda Shue, Director of Psychological Health. Something that you and PA helped us set up was the Air Force Connect app, and we have a wing page on there that with a calendar that gives information. There's a First Sergeants group, and each group can create their own page from that, and I think that's been very helpful. We have one for the Chiefs group and for the First Sergeants group as a way of kind of spreading that information. So social media is also a good resource used correctly. You have all your podcasts that you had come out with. Airmen and Family Readiness has a page out there. Leadership University on Facebook is very good. Has lots of resources regarding leadership. And then just knowing your foundational competencies and how to better build your skills. That's all on my Vector, and again, the Air Force Connect app can really help with that. Kind of streamlines all the resources together.
I tell you, there are more resources than she nor I or any of the command staff or any first sergeant could ever present to any member. Military members today have access to more resources for development than they've ever had in my entire career. I'm coming up on 33 years, and I've never in my life in the military, and I'm the type of person who actively seeks things to do and learn and grow. And I'm kind of overwhelmed, and that there's so many different things I can do. Even today at my level, there are things I can look at and get into that I had no idea were even out there. So all we can do as leaders, and I encourage all the commanders and first sergeants and shop chiefs to get to know this a little bit better, is we can only do so much. We can, the whole lead the horse to water kind of thing. Mm-hmm. We need every airman and every junior officer to be proactive and take that step to go, hey boss, what do I need to be doing? How am I doing now? What can I be doing now or in the future to get myself prepared for your job? Right. Hey, I want to be the PA chief someday. How am I going to do that? And if the members don't come to us, we can't go to our 900 members and individually and counsel every single one every single day. But I will sit and talk with all 900 of them if they ask me the question and say, how can I get better? I'll spend that time. You better believe I will. So we will always push out everything we can, and sometimes it might seem like there's a lot, but we really encourage every single member to take the time to take advantage of it. Grow. There's so much opportunity to get free education that you could put on your personal resume for your private jobs. It's amazing. It's truly amazing.
And even for the CCAF, we have so many individuals, airmen in the wing, that probably have all their requirements filled already. And the past 2 drills, we've had classes on how to get your CCAF degree, how to get your transcripts from your school to the CCAF, and had some individuals, that presented that. Sergeant Williams and Sergeant Leiter, Sergeant Schaefer from the training office, they all dedicated their time to help members get their CCAF degree. And some of them had no idea that they were even eligible for their CCAF degree. So sometimes it's just that knowing and communicating with your airmen daily. What are their needs? What are their wants? What are their career paths? But we have lots of resources in the wing and training opportunities.
And I will say, and this goes for everybody, that, and I've been saying this years and years and years, is that the days of the old Air National Guard, where everyone stayed till age 60, and officers stayed till their 28th year as a lieutenant colonel, and that kind of stuff is going away, especially now with more AGRs. But since they're not staying as long, people need to be prepared for that next level maybe sooner than they thought. And you need to be prepared to walk through that door when the door opens. So when an opportunity presents itself, it's really important for people to be ready to walk through, which means you need to take the step early to, do I have all my requirements for a CCAF, or do I already have a degree but it's not on my record? Well, then maybe you need to get that in there. You know, if you are a captain and haven't done your SOS yet, but you're eligible for major next year, you're late. You're well behind the power curve. And same thing with NCO Academy or seniors. If you haven't done those things to have that box checked and be ready to go to that next step, then you're behind. Because just a few short examples, Lieutenant Colonel Mike Mahalik, our CE commander, was recently selected to be the Chief of Staff, Director of Staff for the Air National Guard in Illinois. So he is now moving off his CE commander position. He's going to get promoted to 06 because he had prepared himself well in advance and got selected for a senior staff position. He's going to get promoted, and that opens up a vacancy here in the wing, and now we're going to be advertising for a new commander. As that person, whoever gets selected for that, they might open up a position. So it reverberates down. It's not just a single position. Our maintenance squadron commander position, Major Dan Reed, got selected for a position down in Texas. He has now left our wing and he's moved on. Chief DeBusk, who was supposed to retire, we needed his help, so we moved him over to the supply chain to be a chief over there, and selected Senior Master Sergeant Dave Lorig to be the FSS chief. All of these positions reverberate 2, 3, 4, 6, 10 levels down, because as a senior moves into a chief position, another master needs to move into a senior, and then that master might open up. And next thing you know, you have an A1C position opened up that the recruiting gets to hire. And that's where we need to get ready. So being prepared for that next step, and I can tell you from my personal experience, by me getting my PME done at certain times in my career, I was sometimes the only person qualified for that next position because I had my things done. So prepare yourself, be ready, but not just box check. Right. It has to be a whole airman concept. It has to be, you might be a paper tiger with all kinds of great documents and all kinds of different certificates and degrees and training, but you just don't know how to deal with people. Well, let me help you work on that. Let's work on the people skills. And then you won't be a paper tiger, you'll be a true leader. And that's what we need.
We're getting close to wrapping up. I just wanted to ask you both, what are your goals for the wing? What do you see ahead for the wing, and what you'd like to see the wing maybe accomplish this year, if we haven't accomplished everything already?
So this year, back to the basics routine is, once again, I'm kind of putting pandemic, endemic response operations as just one of the things we operate with. So that being said, is execute the mission that we have to execute. So we have folks deploying. We have, as expected, I get my first 5 COVID taskings today for COVID response in the state. So getting our normal missions done, but really taking care of our folks. And my goal this year is to take another step toward. I've been in my position for a little bit now, so is who is being groomed for not only my position, but Chief Rizzo's position and the group commander's positions, and because we're all in a continual process of improvement and growth. So growing our bench and growing our leadership teams, we have, like I explained earlier, with different commander positions opening up and different other positions opening up, is how big is our bench and how strong is our leadership team to be able to fill that from within. And I want to be able to always grow from within. That's the best way to do it. The people know the mission, they know the people, and that's the best way to do it. So my goal this year is to execute the mission again at the highest level, build a successful KC-46 proposal that meets muster. We get the visit, and then ultimately by the end of the year, we get notified that we are one of the 2 that gets selected for KC-46, because to me, that is the wing's 30-year plan. I know I won't be here that long, but I know the wing needs to be there. We're our 72nd anniversary as a wing, 95th anniversary as a 108th Air Refueling Squadron. I want to get to 130. So in order to do that, we need to innovate. We need to be part of that culture of how can we operate this airplane in such a way that the Air Force needs it. So that's what we want to do this year.
Chief.
So some of the goals that I have for the wing is that all the airmen have the opportunities that they want. For airmen, the top 3 council, the Rising 6 council, really to be a part of those and involved in those councils, I think is important. Really want to encourage all the airmen to get out there in officer councils, or because that's where their voice is heard, so they can talk to their peers, they can mentor each other, really kind of get those motivated again, the different councils. Back to basics. Again, it goes with funding. How much funding are we going to have to bring people in to develop them, and encourage the different development, because it's important at a strategic level. We need them to be able to strategically think to move up into these other positions that we're going to have vacant. We're not going to be here forever. Like I said earlier, a couple of our airmen, they have bachelor's degrees already, which is incredible. I think we have a couple that have a master's and one that has a doctorate degree. Wow. In our enlisted force. So that's very competitive as they start submitting packages to do different development opportunities. Their education makes them a little bit more competitive. And I just like to help them and give them the resources that they need to be able to develop more and to become more competitive. We have some amazing members in our wing, and like Colonel Jackson said, maybe not everything is documented. Maybe their education is not documented in the correct spot. For the senior enlisted joint PME, very important that our leaders are familiar with that and have completed that to be competitive for different development opportunities. So,
I think you buried the lead, sir. You said there were some new taskings came down from state. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, it's just as expected, right, with the exceptional rise in cases across the state, really sure. Across the nation. If you look at the graph of the entire nation, I think the Colorado Rockies above 10,000 feet are the only place that the Omicron's not hitting because nobody lives there. But yeah, across the state, they're just looking for some help at the Joint Force Headquarters to, once again, the Joint Force Headquarters and the Department of Military Affairs for the state of Illinois has been a huge win for the state of Illinois. And the governor has got a newfound respect and love for the National Guard, both Army and Air, and what we've done for the state of Illinois over the last 2 years. So really, the Joint Force Headquarters is looking for some help on some taskers just to help with administrative type stuff, tracking cases, tracking supply stuff throughout the state. So it's just 5 people that they're looking for, and it's across the state. It's not just our wing, but it's across the state. So, but that's usually how it starts. It's usually how it starts is they start with a couple, and then you need a couple things here, and then they're gonna, hey, let's set up a couple testing sites, and as the chief can attest, we do it exceptionally well in the state of Illinois. So I don't know if that's going to happen or not with this. We'll have to see. But
okay,
I'm always prepared. I just talked about this yesterday to some folks. I said I'm surprised I haven't seen any taskings yet. And it's really just an ask. They're just looking for some folks to help up there right now.
Okay. All right, thank you, sir. Thank you, Chief. Thank you for joining us for the 126th Air Refueling Wing Town Hall. I'm your host, Master Sergeant Brian Ellison. Make sure you join us online as well. Like our Facebook page, our Instagram. You can see what's happening around the wing. And as Chief mentioned, she mentioned the Air Force Connect app. You can find that on wherever you get your apps for your phone. Thanks again for joining us. I'm Master Sergeant Brian Ellison for the 126th Public Affairs. If you're having thoughts of suicide or know someone in crisis, call the military crisis line, 1-800-273-TALK. That's 1-800-273-8255. You can press the number 1. That's for military and veterans. There is a chat line also. You can chat through their website, suicidepreventionlifeline.org. That's suicidepreventionlifeline.org. Another way to get help is the crisis text line. Text the word HELP, H-E-L-P, to 838-255. The crisis text line, again, text H-E-L-P to 838-255. The 126th Air Refueling Wing Mentorship Program is up and running. If you want to find out more, you can go to their link, their Linktree account. It's Linktr.ee/126ARW Mentorship. You can find all of our links on the Linktree, linktr.ee/126ARW. If you're watching on Facebook or YouTube, you can also download this on your favorite podcast app. Look us up. Roll Call 126. I believe, just look up Roll Call. You'll find it. Or you can go, go to our Facebook page and probably follow it there. Or, go back to linktr.ee/126ARW. If you want to pass along some information, you can email Roll Call at 126.arw.pa.mem.org@us.af.mil. Thanks for listening to Roll Call, a 126th Air Refueling Wing podcast focused on people, mission, and community. I'm Tech Sergeant Brian Ellison.
100, 50, 30, 20, 10.